The most interesting thing in tech, Nvidia jumps headfirst into the self-driving car competition. Yesterday at CES, Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, says, you know what? We're going to really get in the middle and we're going to start selling full stack software for autonomous vehicles. Up until now, most analysts had said, hey, they're going to make chips, sell to self-driving car companies. They're going to do that, but they're going to do a lot more. They're going to try to get in the middle of this, and it's part of Jensen's big plan to be part of physical AI. Super interesting. Right now, the race for self-driving cars, this fascinating competition between Tesla, which relies entirely on cameras. They got rid of the radar, they don't use LiDAR. They're just like humans learn to drive with their eyes, our cars will learn to drive with their eyes. Not only that, they don't use a rules-based system anymore. Initially, all the self-driving car companies had a combination of neural nets and rules, right? If you see a stop sign, stop. Tesla abandoned that last year and just said, we're going to look at the data and see what humans do. The cars will learn that eventually, if you see a red sign that says stop, you stop even if you don't have a logical rule saying stop. Waymo, on the other hand, takes a much more cautious approach. They use LiDAR in addition to cameras, so they're firing lasers and mapping everything on top of it. It is a much more safety-focused, much more cautious way of doing it, but it's also much more expensive. Some people think Waymo will win, some people will think Tesla will win. What is so interesting about what Nvidia has done is it suddenly creates another opportunity. Up until now, it's been hard to imagine that like a Ford or an Audi or a Mercedes could get in. They're so far behind on data, how could you possibly catch up? But if there's one big company, as well resourced as Nvidia, in the middle of this self-driving software, what if they can get data from lots of different companies, lots of different partners, pool it? Well, then suddenly there's a network, and maybe you can catch up to the massive data advantage that Tesla and Waymo have. Why is Nvidia doing it? Well, A, obviously money to be made directly. 2, this is going to be huge. 3, you want to get inside of physical AI. But there's also this other interesting thing. Nvidia's market cap, I think it was $5 trillion in the fall. It's declined a little bit, and it's declined partly because of fears that there's a bubble in AI. There's a lot of circular financing. There's a lot of concern that maybe in the future these foundation models that train on Nvidia and then use inference on Nvidia, maybe they won't need as much in the future. And then there's this, which I think is the most interesting. All of these models are going to go towards what's called continual learning. It's one of the things that hasn't been cracked in AI models. Like what if when you get a better version of Gemini, instead of having to, you get a better version of OpenAI, instead of having to retrain the own model, what if the model is just continually learning all the time? Well, then you need more chips for inference, but you don't need them for training, and that creates a problem for NVIDIA. So that might be another reason why they're into this. See you tomorrow.